Student loan red flags. In 1947, at the end of World War II, the Truman administration issued a report of the President's Commission on Higher Education. The report did not suggest a student loan program. However, the funding ideas in the report had to be implemented by congressional subcommittees. We failed, ultimately, on proper funding. Now, higher education is treated as a source of economic fuel that keeps giving. The policy is to protect the federal government's financial product that competes with banks, and not to protect the taxpayer borrower. The loan machinery replaced grants given to our best and brightest who could absorb America's accumulated knowledge and contribute a treasure of good ideas. The loans worry the minds of our best and brightest instead. Transparency is the only shield against dishonesty and untrustworthiness. The Department of Education admits that the National Student Loan Data System database is not trustworthy, and so borrowers are not promised complete, accurate, and up-to-date information there, as required by the Higher Education Act. A new database for borrowers named MyAid uses the National Student Loan Database, and so maintains the same level of transparency and trustworthiness. There is no reliable federal database for student loans. No student loan database is policed. Is poor database management a form of cyber war against borrowers who are kept in the dark? Would AI make it easier for the Department of Education's loan servicers to hide fraud, waste, and abuse since they police themselves? How much do you know about your student loans? Student loan borrowers need to have an attorney present when they take out student loans and during the entire repayment process, just as borrowers need to have an attorney present when they purchase a home. While the bureaucratic borrowing process was streamlined after 2010, some previous servicers became the new servicers, and servicing complaints continue. Borrowers should not have to rely on loan servicers to know what the student loan laws are. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, was expected to help protect student loan borrowers and record their complaints after student loan privatization ended. The CFPB recorded the complaints but was no weapon against indenture. Once the Department of Education became the sole federal lender in 2010, the CFPB registered complaints about servicers and income-driven plans that the department hired and put in place that were still not working properly. The Department of Education hired 5 of the lowest bidders to provide the most important financial services to Americans trying to finish their education. Americans pay the highest tuition costs on the planet with no constitutional protections. Student loan borrowers work to absorb America's accumulated knowledge, which must be passed down to the next generation for America's safety. The Department of Education keeps switching the loan servicers because of servicer fails. But complaints to the CFPB have not been totally wasted. Still, switching loan servicers creates confusion and more complaints. Yet, still, borrowers may also mercifully change their loan servicer. In April 2023, the Department of Education announced that it signed new contracts with 5 student loan servicers. Nailnet is one of the companies most commonly reported to the CFPB's complaint department. Central Research Inc., CRI, new to the list. What must a new loan servicer do when loans transferred to the new loan servicer show fraud, waste, and abuse? Complaints to the CFPB have not been totally wasted. Some loan servicers did not receive a new servicer contract due to publicly posted complaints about payment handling, suddenly being placed in default, poor customer service confusion, erroneous information reported to credit bureaus, making deceptive statements, and misinformation. Granite State, GSMR, and Navient concluded servicing loans in December 2021 during the pandemic. GSMR's loans were transferred to Ed Financial. Navient's loans were transferred to AidVantage, the servicing arm of Maximus. AidVantage was formerly Navient. Fed Loan Servicing, FIA, stopped servicing all loans as of December 14, 2022. Loans in the Fed loan portfolio were transferred to Mohila, Ed Financial, AidVantage, or Nailnet. Fed loan servicing received the most complaints per Investopedia.com. Some, including your host, found the actual money trails completely missing, aided by computer overrides. Fed loan servicing said the loans were getting too complicated and costly. Great Lakes began moving its portfolio to Nailnet in March 2022. These loan servicer contracts did not end on a happy note. Proof of their servicing was scandalous enough to end the contracts and endure loan portfolio transfer confusion. Poor loan servicing tends to involve blind spots for a reason. Nevertheless, the people we turn to when we are in pain are caught up in this debacle and losing sleep and money. America's most talented, best and brightest have been abused after trying to finish their vital educations. They are the idea generators for America's future. They support and guide America's entrepreneurs. Instinctively, they work to explore their hidden talents. They are at the forefront of human development. Of course, they need protection, including constitutional protections. Our military must come from our educated. They get cheated and frustrated by loan servicers too. Why allow permanent terrible government service? The Department of Education's 4,400 employees do not each cover student loans. Borrowers are at the mercy of 5 servicers' employees. The more loans that the servicer handles, the more power the servicer has. The CFPB found mismatches between borrower expectations and actual service delivered. Customer experience in the student loan market is diverse, according to the CFPB. There is a full range of servicing problems, just as there were when these servicers handled the FFELP privatized loans prior to 2010, including payment processing and handling, possible computer overrides, and servicer communications, disinformation about computer overrides. Servicers police student loans and hold themselves accountable. with little to no oversight from the Department of Education. Borrowers with private loans have few options to manage their overall debt load. They remain at the mercy of the whims of private bank and trust lenders who answer to Wall Street. Borrowers get thrown off by servicers' disinformation. Disinformation helps servicers prevent borrowers from pursuing the best ways to manage their debt load. Multiple servicers may steer the borrower with conflicting directions about eligibility, timing, ownership rights, the terms of repayment plans, and default status. Regular on-time payments are no protection. Receiving an income-driven plan is no relief either. The borrower's income must remain low for decades for forgiveness. Those who complain have enough time and energy to complain, perhaps time provided by insomnia. The servicers simply drive those who complain about debt management plan access to forbearances since the indenture is lifelong, while keeping alternative management plans secret, perhaps because of service fatigue. Examples include plans based on income and family size and not your loan balance. The Department of Education drives up the cost of administering the program by asking the same family size and status questions year after year like the IRS, because the student loan product is treated like an entitlement. Servicers may delay eligibility for loan forgiveness benefits and trigger unnecessary capitalization of interest, according to the CFPB, which increases profits because borrowers pay for the delays. Processing by these lowest bidder servicers is slow. Slow processing can remove some key features of the financial management plan. There is no such thing as high-quality servicing for student loans. Consumer protections ooze out during these periods of servicer delay. Borrowers with income-driven payments must give up the American dream entirely to be placed in such a financial management plan. Private student loan plans are less generous. The servicer's delays stop the clock for the forgiveness program participants, creating unnecessary complexity. Delay increases the number of loans the servicer is handling. The servicer is not trying to get the loans off the books and satisfied. The more loans the servicer has, the more power the servicer has. The more power the servicer has, the more the default rate can be manipulated, and the easier the servicer can use computer overrides by creating accounts that look normal on the surface but complicated underneath because of some excuse. The excuse may be gaslighting using bureaucracy that keeps fees at a particular level of profitability. They turn debt management into a nail biter. The Department of Education allows for a patchwork quilt of servicer practices. Loan servicers create uncertainty, which weakens the dollar. The CFPB records signs of impermissible fraud, waste, and abuse, but is forced to step back from protection and actual documented detection. The difficulty getting paperwork processed is a red flag that we need the CFPB to closely investigate for transparency. If not the CFPB, then whom? Borrowers should not have to go to court gaslit by servicers who get to self-report using their own data. Going to court gaslit. Are there blind spots created by your student loan servicer? Were your federal student loans transferred to a new loan servicer? If so, the previous loan servicer may have covered up fraud, waste, and abuse. Have you witnessed the entire money trail? Have you been carefully documenting your student loan communications, including keeping the envelope for the postmark? Scan and write down all your communications for ease of access later. Have your loans been forgiven? What were you told about owing taxes on the amount forgiven? Tax treatment can be harsh for loans that had a lot of interest added during disputes. How did you receive your federal student loan? Who received the disbursement? Direct lending. For Department of Education direct lending, your school credits direct loan funds to your school account. Automation that eliminates cashing checks. Disbursement practices are now better than the Federal Family Education Loan Program FFELP disbursement check practice because of the cash management regulations in Subpart K of 34 CFR Part 668. This makes disbursements traceable. The Department of Education discovered FFELP lender, guarantor, and servicer disbursement schemes you should watch out for and report. Did you check whether your school accurately credited the direct loan funds and the date? Did you record your audit? Did your loans get dispersed by a bank? Did you have to sign a check to receive the loan? A check written with you as the payee? Did you obtain a copy of the honored student loan check for your records? Has your loan servicer ever bluffed? Have you seen the money trail so that you could determine whether your loan was federal or private? Was the check you signed written by a bank and signed by a bank employee? Was the bank registered with the Department of Education to make federal student loans? Does the bank's federal lender identification number appear on the check and match the number on all your loan documents? Did the bank who wrote the check inform you and record which guarantor the bank selected? Is the bank who wrote the check named as the current owner? If a new bank has been named as owner, have you received a merger notice? If the new bank did not provide a merger notice, have you ever otherwise communicated with the new bank? Did you ever receive a notice of an assignment of rights to the new bank to let you know who the new owner is? Did you verify that all the owners' names and addresses were complete and accurate? Did the bank who wrote the check verify that publicly insured funds were used? Were the bank's fees traceable? Did a servicer demonstrate that your account is accurately amortized? If you consolidated, did you get a payoff quote directly from the owner? If you consolidated, were your notes marked paid in full, dated, and witnessed? If multiple banks are involved because they sold the loans to themselves, consolidation, or others, are the sales traceable? Can your loan servicer recite the chain of ownership with the dates and durations of ownership? Were trust owners involved? Did the trust register with the Department of Education and receive an identification number? Were your documents double branded? Does a private trademark appear on your documents and on your student loan check, like Law Access? If a private brand appears on your documents, was the brand registered with the Department of Education? Was a federal lender identification number included with the private brand? If a private brand appears on your documents, does the guarantor's federal identification number appear on your documents? If a private brand appears on your documents, does the money trail lead back to public funds, such as a check written by a registered bank? Is your promissory note an Office of Management and Budget form with an OMB form number? Have you witnessed any conversations between your loan servicer and the Department of Education about your loan? Who entered your loans in the National Student Loan Database? What is the federal lender identification number for whomever entered your loans in the National Student Loan Database? Does the National Student Loan Database show accurate information about you and your loan and the owners, guarantors, and servicers? Does the Department of Education's records match the banks, servicers, and guarantors? What documents did you witness the bank, the servicer, or the Department of Education review? Did the bank, the servicer, the guarantor, or the Department of Education only review data to report to you? Were you declared in default? If you have bank-issued loans, did a bank or trust send you a default notice before the servicer, the guarantor, or the Department of Education? If you have bank-issued loans in default, did you see the signed insurance claim package sent to the guarantor from the bank or trust owner that included an assignment of rights? Are your wages being garnished? If your wages are being garnished by the Department of Education, were authorized public funds spent by the department with authorized signatures? Have you received actual documents that support any data reported to you? Have you received a copy of a release of a bank or guarantor for a defaulted student loan from the Department of Education? Were trust owners involved in your defaulted student loan? Student loan red flags. If you answered yes to any of these red flag questions, start your own fraud, waste, and abuse audit by obtaining all the original documents for your records, including documents that had wet signatures. If you defaulted, that should include the insurance claim submission from any bank or trust owner that was sent to the guarantor for an insurance claim payment and a copy of the payment.